This is not breaking news. This is not a scandal. This is not about one person. What's happening in Iran right now has been building for years, slowly, quietly, and now the result is catastrophic. Tens of thousands have already died. Whole communities have been shattered. Yet the worst part, we are just beginning to see the true scale of what's unfolding. This is not about protests. This is not about violence. This is about a systemic failure that has been decades in the making. A failure so vast, so insidious, that we are now witnessing the collapse of an entire regime under the weight of its own brutality. And yet, despite everything, the regime still stands. But for how long? Stay with me, because what comes next will change everything you think you know about power, control, and revolution. Asterisk, asterisk, don't go anywhere. Asterisk, asterisk. There's one thing we can't ignore. Who holds the power now? It's not the Ayatollah. It's not the president. It's not even the people in the streets. The real power in Iran today comes from an unseen force, an invisible network of economic and military interests, all feeding off each other in a vicious cycle of survival. This isn't about ideology anymore. It's about control. The Ayatollah may give the orders, but it's the Revolutionary Guard, the Basij, and a web of private military contractors that actually execute them. They pull the strings. They decide who lives and who dies. The people on the ground, they're just pawns in a game that was rigged long before these protests began, and yet these very pawns are fighting back, despite the odds, despite the violence. But here's the thing. The regime doesn't just control through force. They control through fear, through isolation. The internet blackout, it's not just a way to hide the bloodshed. It's a way to suffocate any hope of resistance, to make sure the world doesn't see what's really happening. Asterisk, asterisk. The clock is ticking. Asterisk, asterisk. But what happens when the world does wake up? Look back. Not years, not decades, just months. 6 months ago, this was a different story. Sure, there were protests. Sure, there was unrest. But the scale of what we're witnessing now, that's something entirely new. At first, it was easy to dismiss the whispers, small uprisings in distant corners of the country, clashes that could be swept under the rug. But now, those whispers are roars. The regime has responded with a level of violence never seen before. And it didn't happen overnight. This shift, it didn't just begin with these protests. No, it began years ago when the regime, little by little, restructured itself, slowly consolidating military power, tightening its grip on the economy, pushing out anyone who might pose a threat. By the time the streets erupted, it was too late. The worst part? We've been desensitized to it. This slow, almost imperceptible shift from bad to worse. It doesn't come with sirens or warnings. It just creeps in until one day you realize the unimaginable has already arrived. Asterisk, asterisk. And now it's here. Asterisk, asterisk. The question is, can anyone stop it before it's too late? Here's the thing. What we're seeing in Iran right now isn't just a protest. It's a massacre. On the nights of January 8th and 9th, something changed. The world may not have noticed at first, but those nights, they marked a turning point. When the regime's tactics shifted from rubber bullets and rubber-coated shotguns to full-on machine gun fire. Doctors inside Iran have risked their lives to talk to foreign press about it. And here's the shocking part. They've confirmed something that should be unimaginable. Hospitals filled to capacity, not with wounded protesters, but with bodies, countless bodies mangled by military-grade weapons. We're talking about a level of violence that's hard to even comprehend. Whole families wiped out, streets flooded with blood, and no one can stop it. This is not just a crack in the system. This is the system tearing itself apart. Asterisk, asterisk. And yet the regime keeps pushing forward. Asterisk, asterisk. But for how long? So who's really behind this? Who benefits from the bloodshed, the chaos, the death? It's not the Ayatollah himself. He's a figurehead, a puppet. The true power lies with those who control the flow of money, the guns, and the military strategy. The ones orchestrating the massacre are Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the Basij, and a handful of elite military contractors. These men aren't just enforcing power, they're profiting from it. Let's break it down. The Iranian regime is collapsing from within, but as it does, these groups are getting stronger, more entrenched. They're securing their place at the top. While the people are being crushed, these military factions are amassing wealth, controlling key industries, and positioning themselves to take full control if the regime ever falls. And who suffers? The protesters, the everyday citizens, the doctors risking their lives to leak the truth. They are the ones who bear the brunt of this system, a system designed to keep them weak, uninformed, and ultimately disposable. The violence we see today isn't a fluke. It's a calculated move to maintain the status quo, to ensure the powerful stay in power, and the vulnerable are kept just where they belong, beneath their boots. Asterisk, asterisk. But what happens when those at the top can't maintain control any longer? Asterisk, asterisk. It's escalating and fast. The regime's response to the revolution isn't just limited to violence. It's a complete dismantling of everything that once held the country together. Internet blackouts? They're just the beginning. There's a wave of arrests happening right now, thousands of protesters detained without trial. But here's the kicker. They're being labeled enemies of God. No trial, no due process. They're sentenced to death on the spot, and starting January 14th, executions are set to begin. The world is watching, but how many truly understand the gravity of this? It's not just the protesters being executed. It's a message to anyone who dares to speak out, to anyone who even thinks about challenging the regime. And the international response? Weak at best. The U.S. is increasing tariffs? Sure, but what will that really do in the face of mass executions? Will that change anything on the ground? Asterisk, asterisk. Time is running out. Asterisk, asterisk. And the world is still trying to decide if it's too late to intervene. Let me ask you something. What if it were you? What if you were the one on the ground, caught between the regime's death squads and a society falling apart? Imagine the fear, the terror of being a protester in these streets. You are not just fighting for your freedom, you're fighting for your life. Each breath, each step could be your last. And the world is watching, but it's not helping. Doctors in Iran are watching their patients die in front of them, unable to save them because the hospitals are overwhelmed with casualties. Families are searching morgues, hoping that the next body they identify isn't their own son or daughter. These are real people with real stories. These aren't faceless protesters. These are fathers, mothers, children, and they're being silenced. What does that say about the world we live in today? When does it become enough? Asterisk, asterisk. Because right now, they need more than just thoughts and prayers. Asterisk, asterisk. It's not just Iran anymore. What's happening on those streets is sending shockwaves across the globe. The violence, the suppression, the internet blackouts, this isn't just a local issue, it's a global one. A signal to every authoritarian regime out there that it's okay to crush dissent with overwhelming force. And the world's response? Fragmented, delayed, ineffective. Countries like China, Russia, they're sitting on the sidelines, unwilling to do anything that might hurt their own economic interests. They may be watching, but they're not speaking up. And why? Because Iran is just another cog in their geopolitical machinery. The U.S. is trying to do something, but let's be honest, tariffs won't stop this. The revolution in Iran isn't just about oil or trade, it's about power. And until the world can agree on a unified response, this violence will continue to spill over, affecting more than just Iran. Asterisk, asterisk. The question is, how long before this spreads? Asterisk, asterisk. Let's look ahead. Because right now, no one knows what's next. There are three potential paths that could unfold. Asterisk, asterisk, adjustment, asterisk, asterisk. The regime could make concessions. Perhaps they'll ease up on the violence, allow some reforms. The international pressure could force a small shift, enough to keep things from collapsing entirely. But the question remains, how much of this brutality is sustainable? Can they really back down without losing everything? Asterisk, asterisk, erosion, asterisk, asterisk. Over time, the regime could weaken. The protests could continue to spread. The internal divisions within the government and military could grow, leading to a gradual breakdown. The violence may slow, but the damage could already be done, leading to a collapse that isn't immediate, but inevitable. Asterisk, asterisk, rupture, asterisk, asterisk. the regime could escalate the violence further. They could take even more drastic measures to hold on to power. This would lead to a rupture. Either the regime falls in an explosion of violence, or it drags the entire country down into an even deeper, more dangerous conflict. Asterisk, asterisk, we don't know which path we're on. Asterisk, asterisk, but the clock is ticking and the situation is accelerating. We've watched the violence unfold. We've seen the destruction, the hopelessness, and yet the story is far from over. The regime is tightening its grip, but there's a sense that it's losing control. The world is watching, but can it do enough? One thing is certain. The situation is reaching a breaking point. Whether it's adjustment, erosion, or rupture, we are on the edge, and every moment counts. Asterisk, asterisk. The question is, what will you do when it finally tips over? Asterisk, asterisk. This is far from a simple protest. It's a revolution, and revolutions don't end quietly. The world needs to wake up now, before it's too late. Asterisk, asterisk, keep watching, don't look away. Asterisk, asterisk.